Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Tax Matters. I'm Chamaka Ohauchi. On Thursday, the 25th of May 2023, news broke on the new tax to GDP ratio of Nigeria, which now stands at 10.86%. And fittingly, the last episode of this program was dedicated to that cheering news, with the Executive Chairman FIRS talking to us on the matter and related issues. Today, we are still with that story, but from a different perspective. With the inauguration of the 10th National Assembly, the Tinubu administration is gradually taking shape, just as new governors and legislators have taken over in the different states, while some others got their mandates renewed. Revenue is at the core of governance. All over the world, governments require revenue to deliver the necessities of life to their citizenry. Nigeria is no exception. The Federal Inland Revenue Service is charged with the collection of taxes on behalf of the Federation, and proceeds from those taxes are paid into the Federation account to be shared by all tiers of government. In recent years, the FIRS has become the largest contributor to the Federation account, just as it has worked assiduously to scale up the percentage contribution of non-oil taxes vis-a-vis oil revenues. In the year 2022, the FIRS broke its own record by collecting a whopping 10.1 trillion naira. The service, under the leadership of Mr. Muhammad Nami, is not resting on its oars. Rather, it is looking inwards and strategizing on how to get even better. On Thursday, the 4th of May 2023, the General Tax Operations Group met in Lagos for her annual strategic session for Lagos and Ibadan axis of the service, and the Executive Chairman FIRS was in attendance. We are going to share with you some of the remarks of Mr. Nami at that event.
Let me start by congratulating and commending the group's CD, directors, and staff for sustaining this extremely very important strategic session that affords us the opportunity to take stock and forge new frontiers. This also provides us with opportunity to review. We're able to assess, we're able to design, and possibly re-strategize for optimum productivity. Let me also state or continue my remarks by thanking the group for playing a significant role in the successful collection of over 10.1 trillion in 2022. It was the first time the service will cross the 10 trillion naira mark and the highest revenue collection ever achieved, not only by FIRS, but by any institution in the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
And indeed, it was a record-breaking performance. Mr. Nami attributed this, among other factors, to the resilience and contribution of staff and management under his leadership.
The board and management of the service are indeed proud of every one of you and others across our tax offices, and applaud this achievement. Despite challenges in the economy, the security challenges, and other political issues, the service remained undaunted and achieved the 2022 collection record. While reflecting on this, we need to ask ourselves the following questions. How did we achieve this? What are we doing differently today? From what we were doing years back that has brought us to this zenith in tax collection. Firstly, the answer that I will try to profile on your behalf and leave you to go and work on your respective answers to these questions are that we fully restructured the administration of the service for efficiency, and we were able to achieve improved internal cohesion, such that all functional units are beginning to work towards the achievement of common goals. Our staff are well placed for maximum impact and have better morale to do their job. Secondly, we automated most of our administrative and operational processes. A major leap was the full deployment of income tax filing process through Tax Pro Max in the year 2021. We have continued to improve on this tax administration solution, and will continue to do so. For example, the module for the automated tax clearance certificate went live on the 1st January 2023, and today, from the records available to us, thousands of TCC have been downloaded since it was deployed. Furthermore, we have operationalized our data mining and analysis system, thereby allowing for data-backed tax profiling. In addition, we have improved our taxpayer education, open engagement with stakeholders, and improve service delivery. Because of all this, and only recently, the service was recognized during the 5th Presidential Enabling Business Economy Environment Council, PEBEC, Award, as the second most transparent government institution in Nigeria. This is a positive recognition that shows our effort at deploying technology is bearing fruit.
Refusing to get carried away with the successes, the accolades, and commendations, the Executive Chairman FIRS continued his address by asking his audience to look inwards and strategize for stellar performance.
It is important to admonish that we should not get too complacent with our successes. While there is so much to cheer about and celebrate, there's equally much for us to ponder. One, what were the challenges that we faced as an institution last year? And what can we do to surmount those challenges? Two, what did we do right in the year 2022 that earned us this record-breaking feat? Three, how can we replicate, or better still, do something better to surpass this record? It is my expectation that these questions and many more will underpin your discussion, assessments, and strategies in this retreat. The GTOG must realize that it has a crucial role to play in the attainment of the mandate of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. You will also recall that the service in April introduced the updated VAT filing processes on the Tax Pro Max. The updates were introduced with 4 main objectives in our minds. One of it is to increase our taxpayers' base. 2, to improve accountability of our VAT system while increasing revenue for the Federation. 3, to block glaring leakages in the tax system using technology. And fourthly, to ensure significant progress in digitalization roadmap of tax administration system in Nigeria. I urge you to learn and understand the processes of the new VAT filing procedures so that you will be equipped and enlightened on these processes to educate our taxpayers when they require assistance from all of you.
In the last few years, the Federal Inland Revenue Service has worked assiduously to increase the percentage ratio of non-oil revenue over oil revenue, and it has achieved tremendous success in this regard, to the admiration of all. As part of the administrative re-engineering process, the Muhammad Nami-led administration created, or carved out if you like, the Special Tax Operations Group out of the erstwhile General Tax Operations Group.
I must highlight that the STOG and GTOG, though once a single entity, were separated to enable each group work assiduously to attain maximum revenue generating potential in our country. Last year, about 60% of our collection came from the Special Tax Operation Group. I believe that the GTOG can match this by exploring further the non-oil tax opportunities and potentials. The group, being the largest in terms of human capital, has all that it takes to ensure that this service meets and, if possible, surpasses its 2023 revenue target.
FIRS on the move. And with this soul-searching and strategizing, it is certain that the FIRS will deliver on its mandate and give the much-needed support to the new administration. Welcome to our guest corner. Last episode, we brought you the first installment of our interview with Mr. Taiwo Oyedele on the new tax to GDP ratio ranking. But because of time constraints, we couldn't conclude sharing with you the full interview. Here is the concluding part. This new ratio is based on computations from 2010 to 2021. Why do you think that of 2022 was not included?
Okay, interesting question. Yeah, so this exercise, because I was also involved in the process, this exercise started, I think, was either 2020 or 2021. You know, it's not something you can do quickly in like 2 or 3 weeks. To even get the data was a very long process. So at the time that the exercise started, you know, 2022 had not even been completed, so you could not have included 2022. Once the initial work was done and it was finalized, there was a need to send it to Bureau of Statistics to validate that from all the methods, you know, statistical method that they use, not only in Nigeria, but because you can't calculate and use a different formula for Nigeria, nobody will take you seriously. You need the international community to accept it. So that process also went through a couple of months. So by the time it was out, we had completed 2022, but you can't then hold on to it and say, let's quickly add 2022. You know, what we now need to do is, now that we have that behind us, we can now take it from 2022 using that same formula and method for 2022, 23, and future years.
Can this be done on an annual basis?
Yeah, it should actually be done on an annual basis. Okay. But I'm not suggesting that they should keep revising the formula, right? If we have done a good job of that revision, what should happen is we should use this formula for, I don't know, maybe the next 20 years, unless there's a reason to think about it again. One thing that is fundamental that we have to do as a result of this, because it's a revelation in a way, government has to be intentional in harmonizing revenue agencies. We should not ask 63 MDAs to be collecting tax revenue. Some of the agencies have forgotten why they were set up. They're chasing revenue here and there, and they're not trained to collect revenue. So what that means, they're highly inefficient in collecting revenue. People pay more, government collects less, and there's no proper accountability. I think a very effective way of solving that problem is to say everyone that is collecting revenue and taxes, cede that function to FIRS. Focus on, if you are custom, focus on trade facilitation and border protection, right? If you are MPA, how can we get goods out of the port quickly? Everybody has their role, and if you don't have a role, we should just close you down, right? Let only the FIRS collect revenue and taxes. At the state level, only the Internal Revenue Service, because this problem also is at the state level as well, but not as pronounced at the federal government level. That is the way we can really move forward and put this problem behind us permanently.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Now, in the statement under review, it was reported that the ratio could have been higher if we did not have the myriad or plethora of tax waivers, and if the SMEs with turnover below 25 million naira were not exempted from companies' income tax. Do you agree with this?
That is neither here nor there. Maybe I should say yes and no. On one hand, it's like saying, you know, I will have a lot of money. I would have had a lot of money in my bank account if I didn't have to pay rent and enter transport. But that's the essence, right? You're supposed to enter transport, pay rent, right? But you can say, well, maybe I will have a little bit more if I didn't go to Bermuda for my vacation and I'd gone to Obudu. Now that you are making sense now, right? Because that's something that was within your control and you could rationalize. So there are some incentives that are extremely important, especially when you're talking about small businesses where they are struggling to survive. There's a recent law that was enacted, Startup Act. So you are trying to encourage a lot of startups. They are struggling to even find money to pay rent and pay 2 or 3 staff that they have. That's not the time to be paying taxes. Allow them to grow, and when they grow, they will give you billions of dollars in taxes. So to that extent, some incentives are extremely important and should be sustained. And we should not put that as an excuse as to why our tax to GDP ratio is not high. But to also say that that point is also valid is the fact that we also have wasteful incentives. So you see government giving waivers for import duties for somebody who wants to do carnival, they're bringing in brand new cars, or some companies that you have. There was a time in Nigeria we gave pioneer incentive to oil companies, right? Those things did not make sense. So Nigeria has to rationalize and review who gets incentive. For every 1 naira of incentive that we give away, there has to be benefit of more than 1 naira. Otherwise, we need to stop it, but not to stop all incentives completely. I think that the tax to GDP ratio is a number. We need to look beyond that number and say, why is it even low? Because even the 10.6 something that we are celebrating now, while it's an improvement over 6%, is not anywhere close to where we need to be. And some of the factors that are militating against our ability to collect tax revenue include the low tax morale of Nigerians. Nigerians don't want to pay taxes, and they don't think that there's a need for them to even pay. Number one reason they give is they can't trust government. And there's also the complaints about social exchange. When I pay the tax, what do I get in return? Why should I pay my tax and still have to fix the road? I have to repair the roof of the primary school where my kids are going to school. Those things also don't encourage tax compliance. So government has a big role to play, particularly in leading by example, being transparent, and ensuring that whatever little money you collect from taxes, use it for the benefit of the people. Once we can address that, and Nigerians begin to see the outcome of paying taxes, then more people will pay. The ratio will go up, our lives will be better.
Tax to GDP ratio. It's sure getting clearer.
I'm a very busy man. My business involves a lot of traveling, and I interface with lots and lots of people and organizations. Tax compliance used to be a big drag on my business. It was time-consuming and very costly. But now, no more. Introducing the FIRS Tax Pro Max, the truly fully end-to-end tax administration solution for companies' income tax, value-added tax, petroleum profits tax, and all other tax types. For fast, efficient, and convenient end-to-end tax experience, log on to www.taxpromax.firs.gov.ng. Tax Pro Max has turned things around for me. It is fast, user-friendly, and cost-effective. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC.
You are still onto Tax Matters. On Wednesday, the 7th of June 2023, the CITN held its 31st annual general meeting. This is a yearly ritual as it is an avenue for the Institute to give a scorecard of its activities in the previous year. At the 31st annual general meeting of the Institute, 3 new members were elected onto the council. Mr. Zaid Abubakar, the Executive Chairman, Kaduna State Internal Revenue Service, Mr. Babarinde Ezekiel, a Fellow of the Institute, and Dr. Mrs. Adimola Ruth Abiola, a Fellow of the Institute. Mrs. Ruth Arokoyo of the Federal Inner Revenue Service was re-elected to council for another term. These new council members, alongside other council members, will work hand in hand with the new president of the CITN to take the institute to greater heights. And talking about new president, there's a brand new kid on the block. On Saturday, the 10th of June 2023, Barrister Samuel Agbeluyi took over the mantle of leadership as the 16th president of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. The event was witnessed by leading lights in the taxation subsector and the Nigerian economic space. It was indeed a colorful event.
Today, we gather here to witness the investiture of our new president. The ceremony marks a defining moment of our institute, and we reaffirm our commitment to excellence, professionalism, and the promotion of robust tax culture in our beloved nation. Our new president brings with him a wealth of knowledge, experience, and vision. We are confident that under his able guidance, our institute will continue to thrive, adapt, and contribute to the growth of our nation's economy.
I happen to be number 15th, and I'm happy to say it is time for me to hand over to number 16. The only thing one needs to focus on is to focus on the aspect of governance, on the aspect of delivering, because all eyes will be on you, and that is very critical. And having said that, I will summarize my special remarks here by wishing Barrister Samuel Olushola Agbeluyi a wonderful tenure in office.
The keynote address was delivered by Mr. Samson Oyewale, Executive Director, FBN Holdings. And then the high point of the event, the decoration of the 16th President of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria.
And now to decorate him is going, and finally gone. I present to you the 16th President of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, Barrister Samuel Olushola Agbeluyi.
And then the oath of office.
I, Samuel Olushola Agbeluyi,
Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will be faithful
that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria.
to the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria,
That as President of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria,
that as President of Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria,
I will discharge my duties
I will discharge my duties
and that I will devote myself
and that I will devote myself
to the service
to the service
and well-being
and well-being
of the members of the Institute.
of the members of the Institute.
So help me God.
So help me God.
The 16th President of the CITN formally accepted the mantle of office with his acceptance speech, in which he laid out the plans of his administration.
It is with a sense of humility and responsibility that I accept to offer service and leadership as the 16th President, Chairman of Council of our great institute. I assure you of my resolve to offer service and leadership. In doing this, I will not falter in this responsibility. I am guided by the words of Dr. Patton that leadership is not a license to do less. It is a responsibility to do more. Advancing the cause of the Institute shall be the ultimate focus of this presidential year. Under my tenure, we have made up our mind to do a lot of advocacy that will help the revenue agencies. Tax collection is not an easy job. So the leaders of this country need to ensure that the social contract is maintained. We need tax justice. Once the revenue agency is able to collect 100 naira from the taxpayer, we seek the indulgence of the government, the politician, to judiciously use the 100 naira that has been collected. Once this is done, you will have more of voluntary compliance.
Goodwill messages came from several quarters, including that of the host governor, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who was represented by Mr. Ayodele Sober, Executive Chairman, Lagos State Internal Revenue Service. More highlights from the investiture of Barrister Samuel Abeluyi, as well as fuller details of all the events that we have featured on today's bumper episode will come to you in subsequent episodes of Tax Matters. Congratulations to the new council members of the CITN. Congratulations to the 16th President of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. And to you, our viewers, we wish you the very best in your endeavors. Thank you for watching. See you next week.